That's it. Now,
This
there's
is
a
epic.
couple things here. We've already went really long. At the very end here, guys, I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple of fun stories that have come up over the last few days that I wanted to talk about here.
Wow, this is a big one. We made a video of this kind of teasing it 2 weeks ago. And to see this headline, it makes you think.
A little until you read the story. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, with the extra data, with everything I know in the context, it means more than the letting on here. But anyway, here's a headline. Yang says he would consider offering to be Biden's VP. Now, what he actually said in an interview, it's a quote from Andrew Yang. Quote, he actually came to me, he being Joe Biden, came to me and said he's very concerned about the fourth industrial revolution and that if we automate away the jobs, it's going to be a fundamental threat to the middle class. And that made me really excited because I was like, wow, Joe is listening. Yang told Yahoo News in an interview being published Monday. Not only is that something that happened, that is something that's been going on not only recently, I want to say like the second debate, maybe even the first. I mean, back when Andrew Yang really was still building up his name recognition in this primary, he had said that privately he was surprised that he said the first time Joe Biden said something, he thought Joe was just trying to do there's always Tom Cruise stories, so Tom Cruise gets prepped on everyone's life to be more personable, I guess.
Uh-huh.
A lot of famous people do that. They have their assistant. What's his kid's name? Where do they go to school? And then you just...
Yeah.
He thought it was like that, and then he was like, he realized the second or third time Joe Biden kept talking. He's like, oh, Joe Biden, and you can see him say now, Joe's really listening. Like, this wasn't Andrew Yang, you're the technology guy, right? It was more of like hey, I didn't hear what you're saying about the fourth industrial revolution stuff, and he even went on a late night show a couple months ago and said Joe Biden said this. So, because the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because Yang's comments on being a running mate are this. He said, certainly, I want to be the nominee myself, but if I'm part of the team, I'll do my part for sure. If any of the candidates prevail and ask me to be the running mate, of course, I would take a very long, hard look at it. What they tried to set up here, it's a short article. They don't have a lot of stuff here. He goes on to say, I share text messages with a half dozen other candidates. I would work with many of them, and as president, I can't wait to enlist many of them to join my cabinet. It's just... Joe Biden has been constantly coming back to Andrew Yang with this message, and he's bringing it up again. And I just think it is worth noting that if Andrew Yang is open to being a VP, as of today, the only person I could see winning the nomination and wanting him as a VP would be Joe Biden. So I think it's interesting.
Okay.
Him referencing it. Just because I thought it was funny. Yang saying, like I said, the first few times Joe Biden came to him and said this stuff, he's like, whatever, he's just being nice. And then I think now we're seeing Andrew saying, no, like Joe Biden's on board with me on this stuff. Like, he's hearing what I'm saying because I'm saying the right things. I mean, recently Andrew Yang was asked in an interview, would he rather be president or see UBI get passed? And he said he'd rather see UBI get passed and not be president. So I think Yang's fighting more.
That's significant.
He's pushing more for principle than policy. And I think he's seeing if Biden's going to come to him and say, the stuff you're pushing for, I want to bring that to my administration.
That's like George Washington
could be
stuff
open
right
to
there.
Yeah. Well, also, that's what he said in an interview once, right? No offense. I'm just saying, people say a lot of stuff. I do imagine that Andrew Yang would rather have UBI pass than be president. I believe him on that one.
Yes.
So that was one thing. There's another article
Are you reading his
from
mind?
the Examiner. No, that's why I said believe. I don't know them.
What's next? Hit us, Cody.
Just more from the Examiner I wanted to highlight here. Just that the same comments were... here we go. They left this out, but he said that he mentions that he's had the most interactions with Joe of any of the candidates, especially when it comes to like his ideas. Him and Booker seem to be friends, but like he says that I've had the most interactions with Joe. He actually came to me and he's very concerned. Like, just want to add that context there, because a lot of people are saying, well, he doesn't say he actually would be Biden's VP anywhere in this, because he doesn't. However, the context here is that Joe Biden has came to him privately multiple times and expressed interest in his platforms, and that's kind of the tie-in there. This next one, actually, I got some more, I don't know if I want to say boring stuff, but I got a story I want to just touch. This is an old story now, but we actually covered so I'll get into it. So Alyssa Milano and Terry Hatcher were going to co-host a fundraiser for Andrew Yang in Los Angeles.
Big deal. We made a whole entire video on this.
Alyssa Milano backed out of it, saying the campaign has not addressed sexual misconduct appropriately.
Ooh.
In a tweet statement, she says she's made the difficult statement to withdraw. This is old news now from last week. This is some of the newer stuff that came out, and I just thought, this is what's going around. I wanted to discuss it. So, Andrew Yang comes back out a couple days ago, refutes it. Says her facts are wrong. that refutes the activist allegations of misconduct. The actual quote is, here we go. So during a sit-down interview with Yahoo News, Yang said that he and his team conducted an internal investigation on the staffer allegedly involved and found no evidence of anything sexual in nature. The staffer was dismissed instead for management problems. We take any allegation of misconduct very seriously. We investigated as soon as we had any indication something was amiss, and the person that was accused, we found they had not done anything sexual in nature, but we decided to dismiss the worker because there had been other centrally management problems. They go on to mention her pulling out of it, and then I think down here, here we go. Yang maintains that her assertions are incorrect. Alyssa's facts are wrong in terms of us somehow not responding quickly. Alyssa and I have had a number of contacts over the last number of days and weeks, and she just said, like, hey, I hope you understand my perspective on this. And I said, of course. So why I'm bringing that up now is because this was getting an old article from TMZ has been getting dug up and passed around a little bit. It is interesting. So article from TMZ dated back to October, saying Pete Buttigieg celeb donations keep pouring in. Why this article has been getting brought up again is because you'll notice down here that Alyssa Milano is leading the way for Mayor Pete for throwing down a little over $3,000 in the last quarter.
Oh, wow.
So people are throwing that up. In Alyssa Milano's defense, however, though, so I want to get into this. I've seen a lot of people slamming her for this and saying, see, look, she just was looking for some reason. She doesn't like Yang. Alyssa Milano's been on record that she'll raise money for any candidate. And like this is a Fox News article, probably just meant to make her like look at her. Like, this is what she's been saying the whole time. I'm not going to hold against her donating to Pete Buttigieg. Alyssa Milano, Dems should elect the entire 2020 field and make Michelle Obama Secretary of State. She's probably given a lot of money to multiple Democrats running. That's fair. And here's the big quote from her down here. She instead called on Democratic candidates to put their egos aside and effectively allow Kamala Harris and Joe Biden to serve as the party's ticket for 2020. I do not think that Alyssa Milano backed out because she's some secret Pete Buttigieg operative who's trying to tank the Yang campaign. I think, as she said, she had a certain perspective on what she heard, and that was her reasoning. I have no reason to defend this individual. I'm just saying that I remember Alyssa Milano has been remarkably consistent this entire cycle with, I will raise money for anyone. I will give money to anyone. I don't care. I just want a Democrat to win. That has been her statement the whole time.
Well, I find it interesting that she said...
I'm not going to get on too much of this.
She said for the other Democratic candidates to put their egos aside and let Kamala and Joe Biden run.
Yeah.
Now, of all the people that Alyssa Milano would say the entire 14-person field needs to get out of the way for, what about Kamala and Joe Biden make it so that Alyssa Milano thinks that's a winning ticket?
They were like the biggest app. Like, if you're looking at this kind of like objectively and pragmatically, they seemed like
I am. Kamala couldn't make it till now.
No, but I think
so what does she bring to Joe Biden?
The word on the street in the DNC is that it's Biden with Harris as a VP. I've got a better point for you. Would Mike Pence have ever won a presidential election? You know, would Joe Biden even have won an election?
I think who you choose as your VP is huge. Barack Obama himself said his most astute political decision was choosing Joe Biden as his vice presidential running candidate.
I agree, but I don't think Joe Biden's greatest strength was that he was a threat to Donald. My larger point is he was not a threat to taking the White House from Obama. You don't want a VP who's a threat and could beat you in a primary. You want a VP who's not going to have any chance of beating you in a primary. So you want as your VP, your second. You don't want your seconds to be someone who was this close to beating you. It's not good. It's hard to feel secure.
I don't know. I think you'd want to try and get as much outreach as possible. No. Like, if you could collect all the Bernie bros.
Didn't we literally stop having the second place person serve as VP? Mostly because of party differences.
That's true.
But it's because you want your VP to be someone who is likable. Do you know who had
assistant principal?
Do you know who had an adversarial vice president?
Who had an adversarial vice president?
Yes. Who allegedly was
in modern or
modern. He was allegedly by some alleged that he was actively working to primary the president in the upcoming election.
Couldn't have been Gerald Ford.
It was John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm blanking on the guy's name. But yes, there was. The reason being was, I don't know, and I don't want to get too far into this, but why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would be weighed as a ticket. I'm just saying, generally speaking, you don't want your VP to be someone who's very threatening to you. You don't want your VP to be someone who people might say, maybe we could use him as president. So I think that might be one of the reasons why Joe Biden would like Kamala Harris, because you want a VP, but people more or less like-ish and are on board with. Now, I agree. I don't find Kamala likable. I just think that's her logic. That's what I'm saying. So
Okay.
at the risk of running way too long, we're only going to have a few seconds to talk about this last thing, but I had to get it in here.
Yes.
Andrew Yang.
This is the most important segment of the day. Anything that legalizes psilocybin. Okay, this is actually a big thing for me. I've never done magic mushrooms, but this is important stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, you need to pay attention. Cody, take it away.
Well, just very quickly, Andrew Yang wants to make psychedelic mushrooms more freely available. Psychedelic and psilocybin pretty much interchangeable. Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang says the U.S. should loosen its ban on psychedelic mushrooms. We should explore making psilocybin mushrooms legal for medical and therapeutic use, particularly for veterans, the 2020 contender tweeted on Saturday after meeting with a military veteran in Iowa who told him the psychedelic substance is the only treatment he found effective for his depression upon returning home.
This is a legitimate argument. I got to tell you, I think this is Andrew Yang's ploy just to get back on the Joe Rogan podcast.
One second. Let me finish. On Sunday, Yang followed up by quote tweeting a CNN article about a study suggesting that psilocybin can be safely administered as a treatment for depression. That's all I want to get out, is that this is in context with there being studies coming out talking about psilocybin being increased as a use for medicinal uses. That was he spoke with a veteran, but it's also in conjunction with this study and this research becoming more and more mainstream. It didn't fall out of the sky. It didn't wake up one day.
Well, psilocybin gets so effectively metabolized. And there's been 3 studies that are extremely interesting. You need to look at an interview that Joe Rogan actually did with John Hancock, I think was his name. And I actually read these studies. And it's a lot more effective than some of these synthesized, unnatural antidepressants people have. And when asked about the significance of the experience that people had in psilocybin, many of them said, okay, it got rid of my depression because it gave me a paradigm shift. Okay. And in all 3 surveys, the majority of the people said that it was such a significant trip, their psilocybin trip, that improved their life so drastically that in all 3, it was in the top 10 experiences of their entire life. For the vast majority, in the top 3 experiences of their entire life, akin to the birth of their first child. All right, I want to try this stuff. You have no idea.
Well, hey, go to Denver.
Yeah, they just
or Oakland.
Denver
and Oakland.
Oakland's passed a non-enforcement, meaning basically kind of like a sanctuary city decriminalization type of thing.
Yeah.
And so did Denver. Yeah. And those things grow everywhere in California. We got them in the San Gabriel Mountains over here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We got them all up and down.
Yeah, you can just pluck them on the ground.
Big Pharma is afraid of psilocybin more than they are of... Big Pharma is more afraid of psilocybin than they are of legal marijuana, man.
No, for sure. I mean, because I don't want to get too far into it. There's been similar research and study done into pure MDMA, not ecstasy, but actual MDMA, the comment behind it, with similar results. And again, I'd imagine it'd be threatening to people who sell, just when they show you a commercial for this stuff, listen to the side effects and then ask yourself, could psilocybin mushrooms be that much worse than this? Are these mushrooms going to make me want to do all these things? I don't know. So,
I administered daily medical marijuana to my daughter, and it saved her life. And when people would look at me sideways, I'd say, do you know what continual use over a 7-month period of liquid morphine does to you?
Dude,
do you know what Dilaudid, Norco, and all of these synthetic opioids do to you?
Last thing I want to touch on before I'll be done is there's Adderall, widely prescribed. Adderall, your body perceives it essentially as methamphetamine, and it was developed in the 1980s as a dietary pill. It was a weight loss supplement.
Yes.
So I would argue that, yes, we do have this interesting thing where if it comes in those translucent orange bottles and it's got a label on it, whatever's in there must be okay. And I do think that is interesting that I think, if they package psilocybin in little pill forms and little things, no one would even question it. You could even call it psilocybin. No one question it.
If Pfizer grew psilocybin.
We would love it. There seems to be this idea that meth that was developed in the 80s for weight loss for women in Europe. I'll give that to my 12-year-old. But that is functionally what happens. So I don't want to get too far into all this stuff. I just thought that was a little roundup of some of the interesting Andrew Yang and just general primary news. Like I said, a lot of crazy stuff going on in the debates. Is the debate going to happen? Are they going to... the DNC is telling people to go pound sand, basically. Like, we're not changing a thing for you guys. Specifically Cory Booker, if I'm reading into it correctly.
Yeah.
So, and then we get into even more. That's everything for today, guys. We will be back tomorrow with more. I guess it's a good time to mention it. We were missing the last
Are we going
week.
to be back tomorrow with psilocybin?
Not
Imagine what we would
Not
say
yet.
on a live stream
Hey,
with psilocybin.
I wouldn't do one. But I wouldn't do it. I don't want to do it. But anyway...
Wait, you're always the one that's like, yay, we're going to Vegas. And I'm the prude that doesn't drink or smoke.
It doesn't mean I want to do mushrooms on camera, man. That sounds fun to me.
How is it that the Mormon guy that doesn't do anything is like down with the magic mushrooms? And Cody's like, heck no, I ain't touching it.
I'm not doing it on camera. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. Anything from you, Carden?
No, just make sure that you, a couple things to say. Make sure you subscribe to us on Twitter, because that's how we reach out to a lot of people, make a lot of our announcements. Also, if you want to contribute to the channel, there's a PayPal link in the description. And call us and leave a voicemail with your questions. We love responding to your voicemails, especially when we do our live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That seems to be our most popular day. That's not exact set schedule, okay? So don't quote us.
Keep ours open 2020 for more stuff.
Yeah, exactly. By Jan 1, 2020, we are going to be doing a much more... not cohesive, but I would say kind of etched in stone, a lot more consistent live stream schedule. So anyway, love having you guys here. Like, share, subscribe if you can. This is Problem Solver Politics, and we will see you in the next video.